What's up? What's up? What's up, cuz?
What's up, cousin? We're back.
We're back.
Yeah, man.
And Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah. I don't know if Hanukkah started already or what. Um,
Sure. No.
Ramadan, whatever. Happy all of it.
Whatever your holiday is, happy holiday.
Happy all of it. So what's up, cuz? How you doing?
All right, man. Just back. One of my main reasons my main reason for being home, just passed on December 3rd, and it was my dad. He transitioned. Rest in power, Richard Stanton Hazard, and we buried him on the 13th last week, Friday the 13th, ironically, and
That's right. I didn't even realize that
yeah,
it was. That's right.
yeah, yeah. I won't forget.
No,
Yeah,
no, I know for a fact you won't.
yeah, and yeah. So it's been interesting.
Mm.
Um, and I'm kind of wandering, and it's like, okay, what do I do now? What's going on now? But we got this. This helps hold me down, and you help hold me down, and you and a lot of other people. But we'll get to more of that later on.
No doubt.
You
No
know,
doubt.
just to lift him up.
No doubt.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about adulthood and the things that actually start to bring you. I don't know if I want to call them joy, but satisfaction. Um, got a new fridge and oven.
He was like, yeah.
Yo, and we got the fridge that makes the little ice spheres.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
see, look at you. Ah, it's not so
Oh,
funny now.
okay. It's like, yo.
When
Really?
did you change? Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, and it's funny because when we were going, we went the weekend, Black Friday weekend, and it was like, let's go. Like, we didn't really need a fridge, but like our fridge was a little small, and then the ice machine was actually the part that was annoying us. It really wasn't working
Okay.
that great. It would like frost over all the time, whatever. And when we first moved into our house, we have a built-in oven microwave combo.
Yep.
It's in the wall, and that is the second oven.
Okay.
And so the microwave broke like really early. And so we've had just kind of a secondary microwave going because it really doesn't make sense to fix it because the built-ins it's more difficult to get
Yeah,
to and
yeah.
whatever. So it was like eventually like we'll just get a new one. So weekend came, we were like, all right, let's go, like see if we can catch a good deal. And in my head, I was looking and like eh, the wife is going to choose what she wants and I'm going to go along with it. But in my head, I at least had, I was like, ooh, I would really like one with this. And although I shared it, I mostly kept it to myself because I was like, it's not like a requirement. Like, if we don't get one, I'm going to be unhappy.
Right.
So as we're looking, whatever, and, we're looking at the different ones, and she picked out the one she liked, or she narrowed it down to a few. And the one that we ended up going with, which it's hilarious the reason we chose it, it instead of so it's like the French doors. You have the two doors for the fridge on the
Yeah.
side and then on the
On
bottom.
the bottom. Yep.
And the one we have has a handle that comes out.
Yep.
And my son likes to like stand on the handle, hang on the handle, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that we chose, it has an indent, so you grab it to pull it open instead of having
Instead
the
of a
handle.
handle.
So she was like, I want that one because
Of the
LJ can't stand on it.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, cool. And then I realized, I was like, oh, this is one of the ones that has the ice sphere maker. Word, I'm going to become a full blown alcoholic now. Like, it's time to go. Yes, I'll have my ice spheres on deck.
I don't know. I got to be honest. I don't know if I've heard of ice spheres.
No?
I mean, I know a little circular
Yeah.
ice stuff, but a fridge that
Yeah.
pops them out, that's new on.
Yeah. It's a relatively new thing. Like, craft ice is a whole new thing in fridges now.
Okay.
Or new-ish. So, yeah, it makes sense.
You got ice in your oranges, don't you?
Nah.
Okay.
Nah, I'm not icing my orange juice kind of good. I think
Okay.
that's disgusting.
Okay.
That's weird.
I just thought, you making all this ice now.
Nah. For the most part, it's just ice and water.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
And otherwise, and ice in my alcohol. Otherwise, I don't really put ice in much. Like ice in my Kool-Aid. I like ice in my Kool-Aid. But
Next
otherwise,
time we meet, you're gonna be like, okay, I've been putting it in this.
yeah, because we got the regular ice. We got a secondary ice storage in the box. Because like for some reason my kids seem to think that like water is not water unless it's completely filled with ice.
Okay.
So we go through ice like crazy, and I'm like, yo, why y'all drink? Why y'all using so much ice? Like growing up, we had an ice tray,
Yes, you had a
and you were
tray.
limited to
Yep.
like those 18 or
Yep.
24
And
pieces
then
of
when you
ice,
done,
and they would
you
last a
fill it.
while.
Yes.
Like you never
You
used
never
so
ice
much
shortage.
ice. Right? It was like use it, you fill another one, and you
Yeah.
had two ice trays.
Yes.
And for some reason, though, we're like going through buckets of ice. I'm like, oh, is this some first world shit or what? Like, I don't know. Is this part of your growth? You've grown socioeconomically to the point where now you can just be willy nilly with ice.
With ice. Oh,
Mhm.
that's funny.
So yeah, so that is the and then
Congratulations.
yes, and
Yeah.
now we'll have a built-in microwave that actually works, and so we can get rid of that microwave, and then we can get rid of the air fryer because it does air frying. You can clear up some counter space and whatever. So these are the things that
Bringing you joy.
bring you excitement
Yeah,
as a responsible adult. Because
yes.
as a 40-something-year-old man, I'm just not in the space where like tearing the club up is in my headspace. And I have this argument actually with an uncle of mine all the time because he's like, well, you know who I'm talking about. He's in the club, and but that's his thing, and it always has been, and that's cool, whatever. Like I'm not saying it in like a judgment kind of way. I'm saying it in like it's just not fun for me. Like, and even when I was younger, like I actually started bartending when I was like 25
Okay.
because it's like I'm going out and I'm spending money on drinks.
Why don't I get go
Why
out
don't I
get
just go out,
paid?
get paid,
Yeah.
and I'm still in
I'm
the
still
same social
yeah.
environment.
Yeah.
And it's not like I would be tearing the
Right.
clubs up like that. So
Right.
it's just like that was fun for me.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I was like, it's not costing me anything,
And you're getting paid.
and I was one of those people that like when I would go to the club, I would kind of be in the corner, I would dance a little bit, and spit hot fire if I saw somebody worthy of spitting that
Yeah.
hot fire. But most of the
Yeah.
time, I just made fun of people.
Yeah.
So, I'll never forget. Funny story. I'm out with my brother, and mind you, like I used to take him before he was legal. I was bartending and stuff, so I knew people, and I would bring him in clubs. Like he was like 15 years old, like 21 plus clubs with me. But at this point, he was an adult, and we're in this club in Boston, and he and I'm out with my brother, so it's not about anybody else
Sure.
but me and him. We're having a good time, whatever. We're chatting, whatever. So we're standing there, and we're talking, and this girl was right here, and this guy kind of walked by her and asked her to dance or said something to her, and she just kind of dissed him.
Yeah.
And then he said something to her that she didn't like, and so she like threw a piece of ice at him or whatever. But it was nothing. It wasn't huge.
Okay.
This dude disappears, comes back, and throws his whole drink at her, but missed her and hit me.
Okay.
So now I'm
You're
ready to
involved.
go. I'm ready to go, right? But she sees it, and I don't know if it was because like she felt bad for me or if she just recognized that it was for her,
Yeah.
and she just punched him. And I was just like, I was stunned. I wasn't even mad anymore. Punched him right in his face, and he had to hold that because he's a guy. What's gonna do back? Like, you already look like a bitch for throwing a drink on a chick.
And then you looked at
So
her and said, "What's your name?"
it's like, real. It was like, nah. I was like, I don't want no problems with you, yo. What's up?
Wow.
Yep. Yeah, that was funny. That was funny. Like
Wow.
I had a drink poured on me for nothing. I had nothing to do with anything.
But then she turned around and clocked him.
Yep.
Does this lead us to our first subject, masculinity?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I know we were gonna go to
Yeah, no,
different
no, no, no,
directions.
no, 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 no.
That seems like a perfect
Yeah,
segue.
yeah, no, and actually that is a good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, so masculinity is an interesting topic
it
when
is.
you because there's so many elements to it, and I feel like depending on the circle, there's like this selective masculinity that people want. There are, and like I have this conversation in my house all the time and with friends, and like I feel like every man and every woman are different in where they stand.
Sure.
And as a father to a boy, there is a degree of balance that I also want. I want my son to feel comfortable enough to be himself,
Mhm.
but I also want my son to maintain certain qualities that I think a man should have. And one of those qualities is certainly not throwing a drink on a female.
Right.
And
Yeah.
but I have been told like that it's misogynistic that I won't argue with a woman that I am not with. Like if you are a female and you are somewhere in public, right, and you do something, you cut in front of me or you step on my shoe or whatever, like whatever it is that causes the what would actually, I'll use the example. Was in line at an ice cream place, and this chick is standing there, and she decided, like, it was one of those things where there were two windows and they came together into one line, and everybody's standing on this one line, and then it's forking off. She is like, now there's like 20 people in line. She's like, oh, everybody else is just stupid. I'm gonna go and stand behind this person at the window. So I'm like, yo, you're not like everybody else might be okay with this. You're not cutting me. Like you can get behind me and cut everybody else, but you're not cutting me.
Yeah.
So I said, I was like, yo, there's one line, and but I was nice about it. Yeah, she wasn't. And this was in New Bedford. Um, and so she responded and got kind of loud. And I was just like, listen, like, yo, I'm not gonna argue with you. But her man was relatively behind her. I was like, but what is going to happen is because of you, I'm gonna punch you in your face.
Yep. I'm gonna bring it all on him.
And like she was like, you're not gonna do shit. And blah, 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 blah. I was like, see, you're still talking, and I'm not arguing with you. I said, I'm gonna fuck you up. I was like, so either you, and then you start getting like, I start once I'm there, I will get deliberately disrespectful. That is me. Like because now, if I'm there, I want you to be there with me.
I call it the inner DMX. It's my inner.
Yeah, there
DMX.
you go. Like I want you to be, because I like if I'm at the point where, and it takes a relative amount for me to get there. So it's like, but if I'm there, like I want you there
Now
with
I'm
me.
here.
It's like, okay, like let's fight, let's get it over
Yeah,
with.
you brought me here.
And so like I'm trying to get him there because I think he's probably used to her, so he might even be sort of ignoring her. But like,
He's not jumping in on with
right,
her energy toward you.
right. And I understand, like he was in a tough spot
Sure.
because like he can't take my side and he can't
Yeah.
come in and be like, babe,
Babe,
chill.
you need to, yeah.
Right, because he has to go home with that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he also clearly wanted no parts of what was going to
You can't
transpire.
put your head in the sand like that if
Right.
you know your woman mouths off like that.
Right. And like what that is, some people would view my unwillingness, if that's even a word, to engage her as
Misogynistic?
misogynistic.
I disagree, man.
And
And
so
I
like,
think that's the adult thing to do. I think his masculinity failed in, for lack of better word, controlling her
yes,
or controlling that temper. Um, I'm the same way. Like I said, I call it my inner DMX. It's like I will put up with a lot, and what I've learned to tell people is like you're looking for something, and you're
hmm,
gonna find it.
yeah,
You're gonna find it. I was like, so just back up. My example of that, and this was a all male thing. It was a show we were doing called Pill Hill, and six brothers in this cast, and we had a new director, and he wasn't as well known as the cast members were.
hmm,
Strong cast, and four of the six were somebody that this brother has acted with before. They were part of an ensemble group. The other guy put the group together, so he was the oldest of the group. So then there was me. Brother came in one day, wasn't ready, didn't have his. He wasn't like his. Me and my boy looked at his script. Nothing was highlighted. No notes.
mm,
You look at my script as an actor. I got notes everywhere. I got stuff, arrows saying this and that. Um, so he came in one day. He was late. The director. We were all in a circle. For some reason, knelt down in my ear and said, "Don't you ever look at me like that again." I had no idea where it was coming from. I had nothing. My body just seized up, man. I got up, folding chair. I threw it across a gymnasium floor, not halfway, across the whole floor. I said, "Who the fuck do you think you're talking to?" I said, "Don't you ever talk to me like that again." And I said, "I'm taking 20." And I walked out. My boy Tony, the oldest one, he came peeking out, looking at me. He's like, "You good?" I said, "Yeah." He was like, "I've known you 10 years. I've never seen that." I said, "He pushed me. He
yeah,
got me there, man." He was like, "You remind me of a best friend that I grew up with who was the same way. You never see that. You don't, but when it comes and it
mhm,
arrives, and I don't think that's toxic masculinity. If somebody tells you who they are, believe them. I believe I know you, so I know you have a propensity for patience, and it takes a lot to take you there.
Right.
But again, that guy has to step up and
Right.
be like, "Yo, you can't come at him like that. You can't come at people like that
Right.
because you put me in a
Right.
situation. You're saying you don't care about me. Turn that around." And I like the idea you didn't argue with her.
Yeah, I'm not going.
Yeah, because the truth is, it's kind of more powerful.
Right. And I look stupid. Like you don't win. When a guy argues with you,
You
do
can't
not
never
win. You
win.
never win.
Yeah.
And the other thing is like I don't want to mistake, to people watching or listening, masculinity isn't just aggression.
No,
It's
no,
for
no.
example, another example is like I believe that as a man, um, there are certain roles that are naturally just assumed. I think like genetically, part of me is the propensity to be the provider protector. That doesn't mean I have to be. It just means that I can be, or that I am capable, if something were to happen in my family, that I would be able to provide and protect my family. Now, it doesn't mean that like I'm gonna work and you're gonna stay home or whatever.
Right, right.
She works, she wants to work. Works because she wants to work. And like I have no problem with that. But like in the event that she wanted to stay home, like that's I feel as though that is my responsibility. I don't judge people or belittle people for otherwise, but I do feel as though we've gotten to this place. And I actually will say I think the black community is worse, where there are so many, and I'm trying to think of the right way to say this for me to not like get killed for it. But there are so many. I feel like there is so the balance, the juxtaposition between the black man and the black woman is the black woman wants you to know that she can do it all. I got this. I don't need
I
you.
don't need a man. I
Right.
got the
I
yeah.
want if I want a man, I can have one, but I'm good without you. And blah blah blah. And you find that there are so many dudes out there that have effectively been emasculated. Like they carry themselves, and you see the energy, and you see the way because it's like they are with that woman who takes on all of those things, or maybe they were raised by that woman, or whatever it is. But even when I look at generations before us, hell, women are raised by women, particularly within the black community. I'm talking because that's at least what I've seen and what I've known. But like to be strong and to be able to hold it down and to do all of these things and to be the backbone and carry the burden of the family on their back. And the man is sort of allowed, is let off the hook a lot. And an example of this argument actually is I was literally having this conversation recently about the definition of what is a good father.
Okay.
Because I say all the time, I have never called myself a good father. I am a present father, I am an active father, I am a father. But it is not for me to say
About your
I
child.
am a good father. I don't know. My kids can tell me I am a good father. Someday, if they do. But I can't say that about myself.
They do. Shut
And so, and that's
and I
fine.
do.
And I don't,
For whatever it's worth,
right.
I do.
And, but it's, and, but it's a lower standard because a guy can just do can just do regular stuff, you know, be there every day, exist,
Hmm.
go to a game
Hmm.
or two,
Hmm.
um, have a job,
Yeah.
and that's it.
The bare minimum.
Right. The bare minimum that is parenting, period.
Yeah.
The bare minimum that a lot of things people would call like a woman a half-ass mother for. They will call a father a good father for.
Hmm.
And it's like, well, no, that doesn't make like there's so much more to it. You are a father all the time,
Yeah.
even when your kids aren't watching.
Hmm.
And so, like, that bare minimum of things is not okay. In my eyes, that doesn't make you a good father. That just makes you existing.
Like Chris Rock said, he said Chris Rock was talking. He said, brother was like, I never been to jail. It's like, okay, you shouldn't be celebrating. That's a
Right?
good thing, right? Like
Exactly.
that's part of it. You shouldn't be going to jail.
Exactly. It is
We
stuff
don't
like
have to
that.
celebrate, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
that type of thing.
And it's like, do you celebrate like wiping your ass with
Yeah,
shit? Like,
yeah,
no, it's normal. You're
yeah.
supposed
You're
to.
supposed to be. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's stuff like that that it's like, no, it's a different standard. And I remember my grandfather, the great Al Brown, used to say,
Yes.
they would say like, if you lived by yourself as a man, you would need food in your fridge. You would need lights and heat and water and
Your
a
place
roof
would
over
have
your
to be
head.
clean.
Right. It was like,
Clothes would have to be ironed.
so if you're just doing that, you're not doing shit. Like that's not
Facts.
fathering, you're living. And you would do those
Living.
things if you were by yourself. So the fact that
Well
you're
said.
doing that for somebody else means nothing.
Yeah.
What are you doing beyond that that makes you a father?
Well said.
And there is the like being there emotionally and physically and like having those conversations and helping with homework or whatever it might be. But I really believe there is no separation between the amount of work that goes into being a good father versus a good mother. It should be the same, and in my opinion, it is the same amount of work.
Hmm.
I don't hold one to a lesser standard, but society does.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of this whole like where we have gotten with masculinity. And I think that's part of some of what drove people to vote, some of the way that they vote. It's like this
Wow.
war against masculinity where people are arguing the trans community and whatever, and what makes a man and what makes a woman and all of that.
Can I tell you what I think the detriment to the black community was in terms of this conversation?
Go
And I,
for
and I mean this with everything I am. The Sunday night quiet storms, where people would call radio
it.
shows, especially women, and just dog men
Mm.
out. I remember one time I was sitting in the car. I think I was driving back to RI or something, and it was just this constant barrage. And I'm like, what is this? I'm like, all dudes aren't like this. I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm driving. I said, I know I'm not like this. And we just got so disconnected. And I don't think we've ever recovered from that. And I know it'll take time to process that because you have to go back and think about those radio shows and you think about women and men and women arguing on them. And rarely did we find common ground. It was
Yeah.
a place to argue. It was a place to beat men down.
I'd go back farther than that though, to public housing. Public housing is what ruined the black family because you couldn't a woman couldn't live or a mother couldn't live in public housing if the father was present. And so, when you look at a lot of the jobs that the black man could have during that era, he couldn't have, like, you could afford better housing without him in the house than with him in the house. And that was kind of the beginning of the end. It was, well, I can do better. I can do bad.
I could do
I can
better
do bad by
by
myself.
myself. Yep.
And so, like, you were better positioned. It was easier for you to, you know,
We'll reward you more without a man
right,
in the house.
right. And I don't necessarily think it was by circumstance. I think that was intentional.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes,
It
yes.
was deliberate.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that's where the beginning of the end came. And then you had the this need for toughness, and it's a you're not a you're when we'll say like I'm more man than you are, or like you're not a man, or like start to question your or be a man
Be a
and
man.
stand up for yourself or
Yeah.
whatever, and all these other things where it's like nobody ever gets to question a woman's femininity.
Femininity. Yeah.
You don't get to
Yeah.
be like, well, be a woman and
Yeah.
stand up for yourself.
Be a
It's
real
no,
woman.
be a real man
Titty up.
and answer me.
Yeah.
It's be a real man and
Yeah.
explain yourself.
Yeah.
Like that you get to define what everybody else gets to define what is masculinity. And it's like, what
You
is
said
it?
it before. Everybody defines who we are.
Right.
Yeah.
That's always the case.
You can't say to a woman, "Don't be a bitch."
No.
But if a woman says to you, "You're being a bitch,"
Right.
you know that's gonna just emasculate your
Yes.
spirit. It could be a one-on-one conversation.
Yes.
That's gonna take something down. It's gonna emasculate. And how do you come back from that?
Right. You
You
gotta
know?
it's like if you want that in your life, you have to accept the good and the bad that comes with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like when I say the bad, I don't mean like, beating on your woman. That's not
No.
masculinity.
No. 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 No.
It's
No.
being
No.
a
No.
punk.
No. No.
I mean, like, some of the, maybe a bit of a temper or like, maybe a certain toughness or
Mhm.
rigidness or whatever, because there's this reel that I see and different dudes have done it, but it's like the things that a man and a woman are walking down the street and they show, the woman is like, making my way downtown, walking fast, and like just kind of enjoying herself. And the dude is like, okay, dude at 3 o'clock, like, yeah, I can handle him. But those dudes right there, like, yeah, I'd have to like hit the first one and boom, boom, boom. that brother, if he comes up and tries to do something, I can't catch him. So, all right. And you're aware of all of these things that's
Exactly. Oh,
going through your head at
yes,
all times.
yes.
And like, I go into a room and I'm like, okay, I can comfortably handle
Hmm.
this one, this one, this one, this one. Like, and those are all of the things
Yes.
as the protector for the people around you.
Yes.
And it's not just a for the woman, it's for the people around me, my
Hmm.
children, somebody weaker, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Like, I always feel responsible for the people
Those in
around
your
me.
circle.
And so, like, that's the responsibility, but that is the good and the bad
Mm.
that comes with it. Like, you gotta take it.
Yeah.
I always like
How do you
otherwise
feel about this phrase, toxic masculinity?
I don't know that.
It exists
Yeah, I think we come up with all these random terms for stuff that like we just invent them and they just are. But
because
like,
it's almost like what we're talking about. It's like that man trying to make a stance for himself, trying to stand up for himself. Now you're looking at it as toxic.
no, I think we're defining masculinity. We're taking bad behavior and assigning masculinity to it. It's toxic behavior,
Behavior,
not toxic masculinity.
toxic behavior.
Right.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be. It's not. Is that behavior exclusive to a man? Like, is something about that behavior exclusive to a man?
No.
If it's not, then it's not toxic masculinity. It's toxic behavior attached to a man.
Yeah.
That's just too many letters, and too many words, so people don't want to say that.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's a, and that kind of brings people to the need for like where we are as a society with guns.
Okay.
You like that?
Well, I have one more thing.
Okay, go ahead. No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Have you seen that? Have you ever known somebody for a number of years and watched the decline of their masculinity?
Yes. Yes. And it's typically attached to a relationship. But I don't know if it's the decline of their masculinity or just like them giving up.
Okay.
The weakening of them as a person. Like, and yeah, their masculinity is kind of included in that, but like you just like
Because that's yeah,
you
yeah.
just reach it like you
The
just like
weakening
you've
of
given
them
up.
as a person,
Right.
as a man. I guess the fact that their manhood. I guess that's why I'm
Yeah.
attaching the masculinity.
Yeah.
You've watched it just subside.
Yep.
And yeah, man, I know a cat like that and grew up. It was like somebody I respected a whole lot. And to watch them now in this day and age, um, we always said that his testicles were on the
Mhm.
shelf, and she kept them up there.
I have friends where we've made that same joke. She
Yeah,
carries them around in
she
her
got
purse. She loans them out to him from time to time whenever she needs them to.
But he he he's beat down to the point where she could be like, go out, go have fun. No,
Oh wow. Wow.
yeah, to the point where I've literally recently just shifted everything. Be like, you know what? You're gonna be one of them cats. I love you from afar.
Yeah.
I gotta.
I mean, I think we all make, concessions during a
Yes.
relationship, and you adjust.
Yes.
You adjust to the person, and I think a good example of adjusting to the person. And I hope she doesn't feel any kind of way when I talk about this because it's a me thing. It's not a her thing at this point. It was a her thing,
Okay.
but it's not a her thing now. I feel guilty, or I wouldn't even say I feel guilty, but I guess we can use guilty. I feel insecure about going out.
Okay.
Now, I need to, like, as a person, as a black man in the world that I exist in, the business and whatever world, like, and being in, like, I give of myself to everybody. I give to my family, I give to work, I give, I give, I give, I give. And so, like, 90% of my time is me giving. And I take no time that's just for me.
Self care. Yeah.
um, and that's just whether it be going out or whatever, but like that time just for me. But I feel, and there was a long stretch of time where it was like if I went out, it was a constant like, hey, where are you? What are you doing?
Mhm.
Who are you with? Blah blah blah. And now I have grown to realize that a big part of that is culture. I think it might be culturally, but it's more like the upbringing of I've seen a lot. I've seen bad things happen. Like she works in the medical industry, and it's like I've seen bad things happen. I worry when you are out there, like what that something may happen.
Sure.
And I've always like, how the hell does your like?
Why would
That's
you
a
go
difficult.
that?
That is a difficult mindset to have,
Yeah.
but that is a mindset.
Yep.
And so that is because it used to cause fights. Be like, yo, what do you like? Listen,
Why you on?
like,
Yeah.
like what? You just assuming I'm doing
Yeah.
dirt, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
like shit, I'm too tired for that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even have the energy for that
Yeah.
at this point. But it's and so like I don't, but I also don't know how to be like, hey, I want to go do X, Y, Z because I feel like that pressure coming back, that pressure is gonna come back,
Yeah.
whether it comes back or not.
Mhm.
Like I feel like it is always, if it's not said, it's still there, and so I don't know how to do that for myself. Now, if she were to ever be like, hey, why don't you go out, go out tonight with your friends or whatever, gone, gone.
Hey, why don't you go? Wait, 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 whoa.
Right. I'm gone before she finished. But she's also not gonna do that either. And so like that's what made me think of it. But I mean it's just kind of part of that dynamic of there's that balance of understanding. And I also feel like people will take as much as you allow them to take.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so, in every relationship, there's a point as a guy, I think most guys are going to kind of concede and let, you're going to provide and you provide that you are this vessel for everybody else's happiness. But at some point, it's going to be like, okay, now you're taking too much. Like whether that's the masculinity or like or control or whatever, but it's like, okay, now I'm going to draw that line. And not like we are good and you can beat the shit out of me up to this line.
Mhm.
But once you cross that line,
Now,
it's like, I
yeah, and you've been warned, and you
but
know,
right, and
you've been warned.
like that is when I'm gonna step in.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that is the comfort from a masculinity standpoint
Yeah.
of like, where that like you are comfortable enough in your own masculinity that like you can let her run that, you can let her have that whatever because you know that within your dynamic, she knows the line that she can't
Caring
cross.
who you are.
Right.
It's almost as we're talking this out. It's almost like where does masculinity fall with self-secure and who you
Yeah.
just in who you are? Is that do those things equal one another?
Yeah, I don't know. But there is nothing you can tell me or call me that would actually make me feel as though I am less of a man.
No,
Nothing.
no,
Nothing you can.
because you know who you
Right.
are,
Right.
and that's how I try to move in this world.
Right.
I had a conversation with somebody last night, and I said, not to have a spiritual whole thing, but I said there was a message God gave me when I came back to Rhode Island this time. She was like, "What's that?" I was like, "It's very simple. Just watch how people move." So God was saying, just watch how people move. Don't listen to what people say.
Yeah, no, not out here.
He literally said, "Watch how people move." And she was a preacher. She just went, "Wow." I said, "Yeah." I was like, and it's served.
Mhm.
It has served.
Yeah.
I was like, because there are certain people who have this exaltation about themselves, and they've fallen short. People who I thought were going to be at a level completely fallen short. Other people that I didn't think stepped up and was just who were here, and things happened, and I was like, okay. And it's this self-secure, and I'm getting like Joe Biden now. Okay,
Mhm.
I'll roll. But in terms of God bless my wife when she was here, there was an actor. My wife, she was like yay big, but she's a Mother Earth type.
Mhm.
You saw her, met her. I think she gave you one of those Michelle hugs.
Mhm.
And he asked me. He said, "Yo, when you and Michelle get married, you gonna stop her from hugging? You gonna stop her from hugging for you?" I said, "No." I was like, "That's who she is.
Yeah.
That's part of why I fell in love with her.
Right.
To watch her do that, not just when I receive it, but to watch her do that and how she affects people by a hug
Yeah.
and how she moves and what that might do to their day." And he just looked at me. He was like, "That's the perfect answer." I was like,
I
"Yeah, bro."
I am what you do in front of me doesn't worry me. If you have a relationship with somebody and that relationship can exist just fine in front of me, I'm okay. It's if that person is funny around me, that's when I'm gonna have questions.
Yeah.
And because just like women say, well, I know women and I understand how women move, I know how a guy
Yeah.
moves. And I know if he's okay being who he is in front of
In
me,
front of you.
either
Yep.
he doesn't care about me and he's just gonna do his dirt no matter what,
He
or
has the greatest
he
respect
right,
for me.
right. And so either way, like I'm good.
Yeah.
It's and that kind of reminds me of like the whole Papoose and Remy thing. I don't know how much you followed that, but
A little bit. A little
Papoose said
bit.
he knocked dude out because not because he slept with his wife, but because he shook his hand and
Ah,
then slept with his wife. And a lot of people
fact.
didn't get that. In like the younger generation, they made a lot of jokes about it. But I'm like, I understand
I
exactly what
get
he might have
exactly.
worded it weird, but like
Yes.
I understand exactly what he means.
Yes.
Like if you're gonna do the dirt, don't be cool with
Don't
me.
be cool with me.
Don't be cool with me.
Don't go to my church.
Right. You're gonna
Don't
make it
shake my hand.
because you're gonna make it about me.
Yes.
If it's just
Yeah.
like you hold no loyalty to me,
Yeah.
and so if you like, look, I may beat you up anyway, but the reality is if my wife cheats with somebody and they owe me nothing. There's no guy code
Mhm.
that says when women are like, oh, there's this code and you can't. Like, no, there's no code. You don't know that. No, there's no code. There's no code that says like you can't sleep with somebody else's wife. No.
Well, it should be that cold that you can
Well,
sleep
in
with
theory,
somebody's wife.
but like it is their obligation, but it is the wife's obligation to be the responsible one to not do it, or
That
it is the
doesn't
married
go.
person's responsibility not to do it.
That doesn't go that.
Right. The obligation is not on the other person to hold you to your vows. The obligation is on the ones who actually made the vows
Facts.
to
Facts.
hold themselves to that standard.
Facts.
And so, like, you can get mad at the person they cheated with because that's easy. It's easier to get mad at them than it is to face the person that you care about. But there is no obligation for you to uphold some vows that you did not take.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's just silly when
Yeah.
people say, I'm like, no, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
That's well said. Never really. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, whatever. Um,
And when you get like that, it makes you want to get a gun. Worst segue ever.
yes, yes. Go ahead. You can open this one up.
No, I just we were talking and I asked I asked you guys you heard about that school shooting in Wisconsin. I believe it's at a private school. There haven't been a lot of details. Last I knew, I think 4 people were injured, one teacher killed, and one student killed. But uh, this time the gunman is a young lady, a girl, and I know, especially with this political time, we're gonna get more of mental health and guns aren't the problem, and it's the same old running around in the hamster wheel mentality. It's the same thing, same thing, same thing. Um, we're not going to control guns. Guns
I
are
don't
going
think you
to.
need them.
You don't think we need
You
gun
don't need.
control?
No, I don't think you need guns.
Oh,
Like in America, like yeah, land of the free, home of the brave, whatever. Like no other country has this problem
no.
because no other country has the free access to guns that we have. And it's like okay, you want to hunt, fine, whatever, so be it. Bow hunt. Like there are other things, but even if that, like you want to hunt, okay, but you don't need a damn AR to go hunting. You don't. You also don't need a Glock to go hunting.
No.
Like that is a certain kind of rifle.
Mhm.
Like protect. I need one to protect my family. Um, First of all, if somebody breaks in your house, the probability is they are better armed than you are. And they are prepared because they were the one doing the breaking in. You are
I
not.
don't know about that.
But
I don't
I
know if
will
they're
also
better
say
armed. Yeah.
they are better prepared because they at least knew they were breaking in.
Yeah.
But that said, I'm like, in most situations, in 90% of situations, I can handle myself and I can protect my family
Hmm.
and whatever. Somebody breaks into my house, I got a bat and I got these two hands. And for the most part, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
Because like if they are armed and I am trying to protect my family, who is to say that I will be able to get that one shot? And if there's more of them, then what?
Sure.
Since when has the escalation of violence been the answer? I have a bigger gun than you, or I pull out a gun, you pull out a bigger one.
Mhm.
Then what?
I think it's I think then it comes into wisdom. How am I going to use this gun? What am I going to do with this gun? Am I planning on there two or three people? That there has to be more involved with than just having the gun.
Right.
There has to be a wisdom, and there has to be almost like if we run drills. If this happened, what would we do in this situation?
And if I've seen your gun, like, I I have a family member who I won't say, but like he got his gun permit, and I have seen his gun plenty of times. He randomly would just bust it out and take it apart and put it back together, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
I'm like, what are you
What
doing?
is this?
Like, why are we doing this right now? Like, if it's for protection, then it's for
That is
protection.
protection.
And then it is
I don't even have
somewhere,
to know you have it.
right? It is somewhere, and it is a way. If I already know you have it, then you have already failed. Because if I bust in your, if I know you have it, and I'm breaking in your house, like I'm shooting first. I'm gonna shoot first if I know you have it.
Yeah.
So it is also the element of surprise. It shouldn't be available, and you don't necessarily. If you are a parent and you have a gun for the protection of your family, your kids don't need to know you even have it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that.
Nobody
Yeah.
needs to know you have it.
Nobody needs to really know
Right.
you have. Share with your spouse. Hey,
Right.
got this. It's for protection.
That's it.
We ain't gonna talk about it. It's there.
Right. It is not an accessory in your
Nope.
house.
Nope.
And so, but people treat them like they are toys, and they have this need for multiple or whatever.
Yeah.
And I do believe that might be kind of a toxic masculinity kind of thing.
Boom.
Like,
Very nice.
but
It
it's
is.
just like it's so unnecessary. And I feel like the people who more often than not are really driving the whole gun thing can't fight. I'm sorry, 90% of the people who are like guns, 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 you can call me right now. Here you go. Well, where's the camera? Here you go. You can call me right now, and I'll fight you. If you are one of those people who's like rah 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 guns guns guns, I'm not saying like I know there are some like gangsters out there, and
Of
like
course.
within your world, like if you know that's one thing. Like you are a law enforcement or whatever within your world, your whether that be the street world or whatever. If your profession requires it, I get it. That's a different conversation.
That's a whole different.
Like and being in the street, being a drug dealer or a hustler, that is a profession. And so if that requires it for you to thrive, so be it. I'm talking like the average Joe Schmo, whether you be a construction worker or an office dude or whatever it is. If you are out there and it's like, you know, you got to protect these rights and my guns and this and this, and you can't, you'll take my gun over my dead body and blah blah blah, and I need all of this. I will fight you right now, no warning, on site. Let's go. And I'm not even worried about that. Like I'll stand on that. And
Yeah.
I don't even consider I'm not tough like that.
No.
Like, well, but I can handle myself well enough, and I will fight you because that's how silly I think it is. Like I think you're a punk.
When Michelle and I got married and we moved to a different area, Marietta, um, I knew that I was working in the summertime doing this program called Life on Campus. I was traveling around the country,
Mhm.
and I had said, first and only time, because I would be leaving her behind, is I want to get a gun.
Mm-hmm.
I want her to be able to shoot it, be comfortable, um, and I did. Got myself a gun. We went shooting a couple times. Um, she never had to pull it out. I've never, other than shooting it with her, I've never
Mm-hmm.
ever shot it because still got it. It's tucked away. It's. I don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even. I've never had to use
Your
it.
life would be the same whether you had it or not.
It really.
And that's the
would.
difference.
And my life was the same before.
Right.
I ended up getting it.
Right.
My thing was just family. It's like this is my wife again, Tiny,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm leaving her home. I don't want anybody to be stupid,
Mm-hmm.
and try to just hurt. I was like, I want you to know where this is. You have it. It's here.
Right.
She was like, bet. We didn't talk about it. We didn't bring it out every night and polish it and shine it.
Yeah.
It was just put away. And to this day, other than shooting once, never, ever, ever shot it.
Yeah. Like if you're like, oh man, I live in a neighborhood where I need it. Well, fucking move. Move. Get a second job.
Yeah.
Do whatever.
Yeah.
Like do what you need to do to move.
Get
don't
out of that
try to
situation.
exist and like become more aggressive within that
Right.
environment. Try to move your family out of
Yep.
that environment.
How
Like,
about that?
damn, why is that your mindset
Yeah.
instead of like, I gotta be the toughest of the tough?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Good. Not trying to prove anything to anybody. I am good.
Yeah. Wow. Well said, man.
People are bugging. Last, well, almost last. So
Why do we fight for guns more than other people's basic
yeah,
rights
I don't know.
or other people's humanity?
Well, yeah, it's actually easy because it doesn't affect them. Because like the people who it matters to and the people with the voices, like they are not the underrepresented, and so it doesn't. It's not personal to them because you see those people who like, you know, who they go so hard for, you know, gay rights or whatever rights, and it's like typically there was something that happened. There was some sort of epiphany. Somebody they're really close to, you know,
Yeah.
was called a derogatory term, whatever, and it like that light
Trigger.
switch went off
Yeah.
and then they decided to just go hard in the paint in that direction. But like until it affects them, it doesn't matter. It's not something they have to live with, so it's not important to them, and it doesn't really. It's not real. You know, the number of people who are like racism isn't real. It's like, how would you know? Like, it doesn't affect you, so you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Like, but to the people that it affects, you know, RFK said recently, it's like his answer was, "You will not stop. You have a better chance of teaching people of color to overcome it and to fight through it than getting rid of it." That's the answer.
Really?
Yes, that's his answer. But it's like that still means that it's a real thing and it
Yes.
exists. It's just like
You're acknowledging it,
right,
which most don't. That's
right,
interesting.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so I think that's why it doesn't matter. Like, that's why because it's not a masses thing. And as a voice, like we history has done a good enough job dividing us. Like we never really learned or understood that us Haitians, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, various islands all started in the same place. And then that boat made different stops. That is not the part that's celebrated. Where you are from, the fact that, you
Where you
know,
got to.
yeah, the destination is what is celebrated. And so we have been divided because we are trying to distinguish that. And nobody wants to be just plain old Negro. Nobody. Everybody wants to be something. Everybody wants to be, well,
With
yeah,
the edge, with the
you know,
accent,
yeah,
with
I'm
the
Jamaican.
yeah,
I'm Bayesian. I'm
Trinidad,
whatever.
Tobago,
Right.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
always you don't just want nobody wants to be
just
just
basic,
plain. I used
just
to call it
basic black,
POB, plain old black,
yeah,
slave traded. I don't know your history. No, like would have to do a 23andMe to even figure out where your ancestors came from, like that. Like nobody wants to be that. Everybody wants something to attach themselves to, and so that creates this division. You come into this country, you're from Nigeria, you are not POB, and so that division has been established for us, and we just let it. We just take it on. We're like, yes,
You mentioned the Nigerians. I'm sorry.
I, it's like,
Let me
yes,
tell you
I
something.
am so
And
glad.
not all of you, but a lot of Nigerians don't even think they African.
Yeah, it's
Then
like,
there's Africa, and then there's Nigeria.
yes,
Yes,
and
I get
you
what
know, you embrace that division,
Yeah.
and so it's like, well, you still like they're not asking you when you get pulled over. They're not asking you where you're from.
No,
They're not, you know, like by the time they've learned or heard the difference in your accent, you are already pulled over and
I know. Yes, you're out of here. They don't care. Yeah,
you got time
well, yeah.
to be like, no, I am from the motherland.
This is a disgrace. What are you doing here?
I am not black.
Uh-huh.
I am from the motherland. I am from Nigeria.
I used to have that, back in high school, man, back in the day, would have that conversation with a couple of
Mhm.
young ladies, not black mulattoes,
Yeah.
and they were real about it.
Yeah.
And my only comeback was, and I'd say, okay, so if the slave driver came and rode through on his horse with the whip and the nets, he'd come up to you galloping and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Not them. They mulatto. We gotta get them, not them. They mulatto. They good.
Difference is you
There's
in
a
the house and I was in the field.
Exactly.
That's the difference.
Still going.
You in the
Still
house, I
getting
was in the
hung.
field.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm this. I'm that. No, you're getting captured.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep. So no. Um, yeah. It's so. I really wish, and I think some other places are better. Some places are better than others with this from the like unification standpoint. We are bad at it in the Northeast. We are horrible at it in the Northeast. I reached out to somebody once. It was a young lady doing her thing in Providence. I reached out and I was like, "Hey, I see what you're doing. Really appreciate what you're doing. I'm happy what you're doing for the community. If there's ever anything I can do to help, please let me know." And she like asked me all these qualifying questions or whatever, and I'm like, "Yo, I'm not trying to hit on you. Like, I didn't ask you for anything. Like, I literally said, if there's ever, like, I am offering my services." And, like, it was like, well, how,
So
who, what, when, where, why? And I'm like, yo, that's for you to figure out. Like, you're the one trying to get there.
okay.
Like, you figure out how.
They
If
went.
somebody says,
They weren't justified questions, and her just wanting to
no,
get to know
no,
you.
it was like
Okay.
very much just like a interrogation.
Really?
Like, why? Like, what are you gonna do for me? What could like? Okay, like you are the greatest in the hood. Like, congratulations.
Yeah.
But like, obviously, I can see based on what you're doing that like you are not where you were trying to get.
Sure.
So do
Now
your
define
homework
that. Yeah.
because I might have access to somebody.
Where you're trying to
You
get.
tell me, hey, my name is so and so, and if there's anything I can ever do for you, let me know.
You're gonna
First thing I'm gonna do is
research.
I'm going on LinkedIn and I'm
Mhm.
being like, oh, okay. Who are they? What do they do? And
Yeah.
who are they connected to within the things that I want to do? Because that's where my mind
Sure.
goes. Like, okay, it's just like a okay, thank you. I appreciate the niceness, the nice thing that you try to do, and I'm
Mhm.
not gonna
I got you.
assume something
I got you.
nefarious or like or
Right.
selfish.
Nefarious. That's what it. Yeah. Which. It's how we're programmed.
Yeah.
It's how we're programmed.
Yes.
And I'm glad it was you and not me that said it's different here in the Northeast, man.
It is.
I'm just so glad
I mean, and
because it really, really is.
I've lived, and I'm not saying like I loved all these places because I hated when I lived in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I hated that shit. But like the North Carolina, Chicago, St. Louis, Arizona, like, and I mean, I really loved Chicago. Chicago was dope.
Hmm.
Like it was nice. Chicago was the first time as a black person I went into a nice restaurant and saw a black person in there just like
Yeah.
eating. Like, and it wasn't unusual.
Yes.
Whereas my brother and I, we went out in Federal Hill one time as adults. Like this is probably 5 years ago, and this one dude was like, "Yo, where you guys from?" We're like, "Originally here." Like for real? Because like people like us, and he was a black dude. He was like, "Don't come out to eat in this place." It was like, "Oh, the ones that do like act like they're too good and whatever." And we were engaging them. We were chatting with them. Yo, but boom. And so he was like, "Nah, like the ones here, they act like they're too good to talk to me, whatever." He was like, and I was just like, "That's sad that we've gotten to this
Wow.
point, but we're always trying to distinguish
Was he
ourselves."
working there? Or
Yeah,
was
he
he?
was working there. He
Okay.
was busting
Okay.
tables.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's just that's what we are, and it's like we are not. People will talk about, we need to do this, we need to support black business, or we need more black businesses. Okay, we need to support them.
Fine.
You get a black restaurant that goes in, go eat there.
Go eat
Like
there.
instead
Yeah.
of like shitting on them and talking about how terrible the food is, or my auntie does better. Well, your
Yeah.
auntie didn't open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Like it's better than nothing,
It's
and you're
better.
not holding Capital Grill to the same standard that you're holding Aunt May's.
Yeah. Fact.
Like, so hold everybody.
To the
Like,
same.
stop doing that.
Yeah. It's
Like,
easier though. It
yes,
takes less work.
yes,
It takes less work, cousin, to tear somebody down as opposed to
yes.
lift them up.
It's that crab
It's
mentality.
that crab in the barrel
You don't want the
mentality.
you. It's not that you're trying to get out. You just don't want the
The
crab to get
other
out.
one get
You want the crab to be stuck in there with you.
miserable with you.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Sad.
And this will hurt. I feel like it's gotten worse than from when I
Hmm.
originally left.
Yeah, I agree.
And that hurts.
Yeah.
Especially coming back and under the circumstances I did,
Yeah.
but to then look around and be like, it hasn't gotten better.
No, it does not.
It really hasn't gotten better.
I think I feel fortunate because I come from a very diverse background of people. You know, my my biological father was locked up when my father who was raising me. I don't we don't use the term step, but I'm trying to explain it. But the father who was raising me was working, was a correctional officer. It's like in one side of my family, I was the first male to make it to 18 without a record or a kid. Um, but that has made me more comfortable in everywhere. Like I am comfortable everywhere, and I don't see that separation. And I saw a lot of that, being around my grandfather and his wife, because like they were well off. But I wasn't really around them until I was older. But like they were very well off, but they were comfortable around everybody
Everybody.
because they understood where they came from. She came from like a small town, Hollandale, Florida, way poorer than like anything that we grew up in New England. Like Florida poor is different, or Southern poor is different than Northern poor.
Yes.
When people make it out of Southern poor, like that's the next step down, the one step up from like
Our house.
poor country poor,
Yes.
like Jamaica poor.
Yeah.
Like it is that kind of poor, and so like they are, and but you don't forget, and you remember, and you're embraced when you come back.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when we come back, we are an outsider. We are not embraced. It is you're a sellout, or you're forgotten, or whatever, and it's none of those things. That's sad. So we need to get on to the next topic. So of
You just talked about folks being
yeah,
stale.
um, I was reading recently, and I think it's actually something that's been said several times. That was said several times throughout the campaigns, what have you, is like, oh, you have a felon
If a
for
convicted
president
felon
can be
cannot vote, how in the hell can a convicted felon be the object of a vote?
so but now you deal with the reality. So the reality is that like Trump is the president. If a convicted felon can be president, why is are you a felon on an application? On an application to be anything,
Anything.
to work at McDonald's, to be a mailman, to be anything. Why, if you can achieve, like from a status standpoint, the highest office in the country, now you have to have that trickle down and allow. And this isn't a race thing.
No,
This is not a race thing.
not at all.
This is this is just equity.
Yep.
You should be able to, and I have been a believer. I've always been a believer in like in rehabilitation and reform. And so if you have paid your debt to society, if there is a debt to be paid, and you have paid that debt to society, there are certain things that I believe
It should be washed.
you can't come back from.
Mm-mm.
A rape, murder, being a
Abuse of children.
being a diddler,
Yeah.
yeah, those things. Like I would bury you. I would literally just put you on a corner in the hood with like
A sign
$100
on you.
bills taped to you. That's and a sign that says "Fight me." I'm
Mhm.
bored. Fight me. And like with every derogatory term, so that everybody walking by just wants to inflict pain upon
Mhm.
you every day of your life. Outside of that, you should be able to hold any job. Once you've done paid your
Once
debt,
you paid your debt,
you should
yep,
be able to function in society as normal.
completely
If
agree.
that's the case, like wash that away.
The gentleman in the highest office hasn't even he hasn't even paid his debt.
Right? They're still arguing the semantics over whether he's exempt from it now.
Yeah, yeah, hasn't paid his debt.
And he's gonna keep appealing. There was one court that said there was I don't remember which one. I think it was the no, I can't say. But one of them said already like what he's being tried for does not fall under the statute of as president you are exempt. So he can be tried and convicted on this one, but he's just going to appeal it,
Mhm.
and he has stacked the court in a way that he can appeal it until he gets to a court that's friendly to him.
Yep.
Because eventually, the highest court, like you keep appealing, until you get to the
until it
highest
gets to
court
the
in the
highest
land
court where you set the judges.
where you've already set the judges in your favor. And so now there's nothing anybody can do about it. So no matter what, like you're almost wasting tax dollars
Yeah,
by even fighting it
by playing. Yeah.
because he can just keep appealing,
Mhm.
which is whack, which is messed up. I mean, luckily, the other part of it though is the court system is so slow that like by the time he's done appealing, he won't be president. He won't be in the public eye. Like he might even be dead. He honestly he could appeal it long enough until he dies.
Until he,
Like at this point in his life, like let's not act like he was young. Like him and Joe were pretty much the same age. It's just he's on better meds than
yeah.
Joe's on, and so he's able to be a little bit more peppy. That might be a little kind of
No.
meds. Who knows what it
Yeah.
is? But he's better. He's able to be better on camera, and
Yeah.
there you go. So, but he is not necessarily the definition of health either. Um, so, like, it's gonna never like nothing is ever gonna come to the never gonna end. It's just gonna be this ongoing thing until he dies, and I've accepted that as a person. So it's like, how do you live with it? But there does need to be the initiative, something to explore, kind of rewriting whether it's the labor laws or like HR laws or whatever it is, civil liberties that says, okay, like you got to stop if you're a nonviolent offender.
Well said. If you're
Like, and maybe you can
nonviolent,
ask that.
you could add, yeah,
You can ask
you
that.
could start there.
Right? Are you convicted of a are you
Have you
convicted
been
of a violent crime?
violent crime?
Right.
Yep.
And I think that's actually a fair place to
Yes.
start.
I think it's a great place.
Is, are you convicted like if it's no, then you're done.
Yep.
Like it's no longer are you a convicted felon or misdemeanor or
Yeah,
above
yeah.
whatever. No,
No.
eliminate the misdemeanor part
Yeah.
altogether.
Have you been?
And have you been convicted of a violent crime? The end.
Yeah. That's,
If not, like, because like I mean, there are a drug kingpin could probably run a company.
Yeah.
Like if you haven't murdered the entire world to get there,
Mhm.
and you ran a major drug enterprise on some wire type stuff, like you were literally just life decisions away from being a CEO,
A CEO
or vice president.
Yeah. Yeah.
That the person who had that mindset to get to that point has the same mindset
To
in
apply it in
probably
the
different
business.
circumstances
Yep. Yep.
and different
Often.
exposure.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that.
Yeah. I think it's just that maybe didn't have the same opportunities.
Right.
Maybe this
Or-
road was easier.
Or just made different decisions.
Or maybe just
I don't like to let people off on the whole.
No, yeah, no, I got you.
On the
I
whole
feel it.
opportunities thing.
I got you.
Because I've heard people say that shit to me and be like, "Well,
Yeah, I know when it's an
he didn't have the same opportunities."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What? My mother was dead."
Yeah.
Like, and we grew up in the same neighborhood and whatever. It's a product of decisions in certain cases, and you can use that opportunities up until a certain point in your life, but at some point, personal responsibility
Of
kicks
course.
in,
Absolutely.
and that's it.
Absolutely.
And that's all there is to it.
Yep.
But I think we might have actually solved that issue on here. And so whoever's listening who can drive that initiative, because quite frankly, I'm not really going to take that one on. I don't have room on my plate for that one, but get it changed, get the statute changed
Yeah.
to say violent crime.
I mean, because I brought this up off camera, like we've kind of done it with marijuana,
Yeah,
where weed is legal now. We don't have the same companies that would give you a drug test to be able to work there. It's not even mentioned anymore.
Yeah.
It's not even mentioned. Or if you have to take a drug test, marijuana is off.
right,
Marijuana is off the list.
right. And you got medicinal. It's been
Medicinal.
proven that it solves cancer patients.
Yes.
It is literally like that is kind of where it started. It was like the best thing to treat some of the side effects from chemo.
I saw with my own eyes on CNN, Dr. Sanjay Gupta changed his entire stance about marijuana after meeting a woman in the Midwest with a child who I think had Tourette's and something else. And she had to move the two of them to somewhere where she could get hold of some marijuana. And he went out and he spent
Yeah.
time with them. and he said, I have to change my entire stance on
My
that
friend's
role.
daughter. My friend's daughter. And I've known them since she was little, like 2, 3 years old. And it is the only thing that kind of eases
Yeah.
her seizure symptoms.
Hmm.
And like she suffers from like drop seizures.
Mm.
And but that is a that is a thing. Now they certainly reap some of the benefit, like because this was before it was even legal
Sure.
and whatever. They had to get it like via mail
Yeah.
or whatever. And so it was like, hey, you want to smoke? Like, yo, what's up? Um, like, is your daughter sleeping? Let's dig in your daughter's stash, son. Let's go. Nah. But it was, but still, like you saw, like that was the only thing that would help. And so, like, you gotta embrace that. It is what it is.
We have a pioneer in our family. She's no longer with us, cousin Vicky. So
Yes.
she
Yes.
used to have her cancer patients come
Yeah.
in her office, and she would give them joints.
Mm.
She
I
had
didn't
them.
know that.
They had, yeah, she was one of the first. She was really cutting edge, and she had like prescriptions of marijuana. And she would let them smoke it in her office.
That's dope.
Yeah, and she kind of led the way. I'm getting chills right now thinking about that.
Yeah, I love Vicky.
Yes,
Like in a very interesting dynamic of a family, Vicky was a breath of fresh air.
yes, well said. Yeah, yeah, and it was just I remember hearing that she did that and knowing it, but now we're in this day and age that we are, and she was doing that in like
Yeah,
70s,
yeah,
80s or something.
yeah.
It's like, wow, man, she was cutting edge in that, and she saw something even way back then.
And one thing that makes me like that was dope about, or that I appreciate about Vicky is she maintained her distance, but she embraced who she
We're
wanted.
all family, yes,
It was like
yes,
everybody could reach out,
yes,
but like she would really like reach out to like because she would always like it was like after my mother passed and I had gone off in college, it was like once it was established like I was just gonna be a decent human. Like she made herself available if I ever wanted to reach out, and she wasn't gonna overstep her
nope,
boundaries already.
nope.
And she didn't judge. She didn't like had no opinion, but it was like, hey,
But
if
she
you're in
was
New York,
there.
you better come see me.
Yes, you better come to Yonkers.
Like if
Yep,
you were in New York and you
yep,
didn't go see her, she
yes,
was gonna be
yeah,
she was not gonna be happy with you.
yeah,
But like she
yeah,
was always, and I mean, I like her old bedroom was like my second home.
yes,
And
yeah,
so, and we would talk about that too. It
hmm,
was like I lived in that was the room I slept in a
yeah,
lot every
yeah.
weekend or every other weekend.
I wasn't every weekend, but I was up there at
Yeah.
least like once, twice a month,
Oh
like
yeah.
or once every couple months, something like
Well,
that.
you also lived closer,
I live, yeah,
so you
but
could go
spent
there.
quality
Right.
time with it. Yeah, man.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that was dope. And that actually brings us into family. So I I'll let you go.
I don't even know how to go and start,
No, I know.
continue and stop.
Well, I will say this.
Okay.
You know, um, Uncle Richard was not my biological uncle. He married my aunt.
Hmm.
He was my aunt's ex husband. Um, well, I guess ex husband
Yeah, just
because
I was like, why did you get two
well,
X's,
no,
man?
because you had like I remember like she wasn't married to Kenny, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
mean,
I got you.
so
I
whatever.
got you.
And I was young, so I don't know who
Yeah,
was
yeah,
what.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
wasn't in people's relationships.
Sure.
But yes, she was my aunt's ex husband. But he was always like he was involved in the community, particularly from a sports standpoint. Like
Hmm.
everybody knew him, and nobody really like everybody says, oh, nobody said a bad word, but like he was that dude that like because he never really crossed anybody, he never really talked about you, he never
Hmm.
really he just kind of lived his life
Yeah.
within that world, and he was respected within that world, and he was cool with everybody, and he
Hmm.
was polite, and like he was just there.
He,
And
one of those people, and you just said it. It's a rarity. One of those people that you say, I don't like Richard. You would look and go, "What's wrong with you?"
right, like why?
Because you don't hear that phrase.
Right. Because
I'm not one of those people.
right, he didn't do anything to dislike.
To
Like you didn't have
yeah.
to like him,
Hmm.
but it was like, what would make you
What would make
dislike
you
him?
just yes? Yeah, that's not his
Yeah.
nature. That's
Yeah, and
not
he
who he is.
he was very much that kind of person.
Hmm.
Like if somebody said, it reminds me of my father-in-law. Like
Yeah.
if somebody said they dislike you, it's like why?
Why? Yeah.
Like I need to hear this story because
Yeah.
like
Because I can't hear that story from anybody else.
right,
You know.
right,
Yeah.
yeah,
Some quick stories about him, man. Just kind of touching on that. Um, it was very humbling to see all these referees that came out and show my dad
mm,
love and support. I figured referees would do something, but it was the way they came out, and I saw on each one of their faces there was an individual story. Nobody was there because they said, "Hey, we're going to this funeral. Even if you don't know him, just come on."
yeah,
It was like we're going to support Dick Hazard. He's one of us, and they had that energy. And each of them were just trying to share a quick story with me in the line, and I was like, "Okay, you really made a difference." And we're not even talking about the fact that he's literally a Rhode Island Sports Hall of Fame
right,
referee. He's earned that. Um, my man, my dude out there, brother Chris Brown, uh, he's a Providence police officer, but this brother's also, we talk about Renaissance man, he's also an NCAA official.
mm,
And that was one of the last things his first whistle, he got in the NCAA, which is labeled NCAA, put it around my dad's neck.
oh that's dope,
He said, can I send this one? I said, you absolutely can.
that's dope,
Yeah, man. And my dad was like the influence to move him. My dad wanted me to be a ref. I didn't do it. He wanted my cousin Scott to be a ref. He didn't do it. We were just doing sports back then
yeah,
ourselves, and we weren't thinking of groundwork later on
yeah,
that this could be something really powerful in the future to help you go.
yeah,
We weren't that forward thinking at the time. But Chris gravitated to my dad. When my dad was in the hospital, Chris said, "Can I go see him?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, thank you." And so to see how he influenced people in that way as a referee, as a deacon, as
mm,
you heard the pastor
yeah,
break it down, people turned to him, and he was one of those people that was um, requested to be a deacon. No bad words. There was one pastor, not the bishop, not his cousin. But there was another pastor at the church he went to. He was trying to get some program or something passed, and nobody was going for it. This pastor literally went to those people and said, "Well, Brother Richard's for it." And they said, "Really?" And they say, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He wants to get done." So everybody went with it, signed it, and got back to my dad. My dad's like, "I didn't have anything to do with that." He said, "No, they got rid of the pastor."
mm,
Like this is who this guy is,
yeah,
man. And as a man, um, a quick story: we both lived at Chestnut Street, one Chestnut place. It was kind of a senior living, but this was before I moved to Atlanta. They allowed me to live there because I'd gone to see my father so much. The older people knew who I was.
mm.
He's no threat. We like him. I mean, dude, I was like 30 years younger than the age to be in there.
Let me find out. You were knocking down old women.
Nah, man.
Let me find out. You're
Nah,
tapping into some Social
nah,
Security benefit.
nah. That's funny. But one day we were sitting waiting for this group, waiting for this couple to pick us up from church to go to South Kingston, and we're sitting in the hall and almost like this, table between us. You're where my dad's at. I'm here, and then around the corner is the elevator, but people can enter through the back, get the elevator, and you would never know anybody's in the front. So these two white guys come in and tell their way by their conversation. He said, the guy's about to get the elevator. And out of nowhere, he just says, "Do you know Richard Hazard?" The guy says, "No, I can't say I do." And I looked at my dad, and she's reading the paper. And he said, "Boy," he's a colored gentleman on the ninth floor. He said, "No, I don't think I know." He goes, you gotta get to know him. You gotta meet him. He is a hell of a guy. He's the nicest guy. He's a great guy." They got in the elevator. I was sitting, I look at my dad, who's reading the paper, and I know you heard that. I'm like, I know you heard that. He's like, "Huh? What?" I said, "Come on, don't give me that. You heard that." He was like, "Oh, there was something that's going on." I was like, "Okay, all right." He brushes it off. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He walks with a humility. Um, there was a
phrase that I was coining. I heard other people say it. I actually think the bishop said it at the funeral. He's a quiet giant.
Yeah.
He's a quiet giant. Um, and when he's Dick Hazard with the referees, he's Uncle Richard
Hmm.
with his family. He's Brother Richard to the people of the church. He's Deacon Richard uh, with the people of the church. Um, and for me, he was just Poppy.
Yeah.
Um, my cousin, the bishop, he had said something we all knew if you were ever around him. The man loved to eat, have a good meal. Um, I could almost put it to a time where he would have the meal, you would talk afterwards, he would give you a good 8 to 13 minutes of conversation. On that 15-minute, he would get quiet. He would get quiet in that corner. And somewhere on the 18th and 19th minute, there would be.
Yep, he
And
did.
so that's how you knew your meal was good. You knew you made that man happy, and this was who he is. If you didn't get a snore, you should be concerned about your meal. It wasn't that good. You didn't take him where you needed to take
Mhm.
him. Uh,
Yeah, it was a really nice homegoing.
yeah, yeah,
It was a simple homegoing.
yes.
It was, and what he said was personal. The
Mhm.
story was personal. It wasn't too much. Wasn't over the top.
No, it wasn't over anybody
No,
else's head.
and it was engaging. I don't even know if you paid attention, but I was just kind of way in the back, just kind of chilling. And so like it had my like I mean, and I've been to a lot.
Sure,
So
sure.
like at this point I just kind of tune out,
Yeah.
kind of do my own thing when I'm sitting there. And so but I was actually listening.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I really
Yeah,
liked what he had to say, and
yeah.
he kind of made it a broader message. But he didn't make it about him, and it was
No,
like,
right, exactly,
oh, it was
exactly.
a nice homegoing.
Yeah, it's. I think he knew who was in there, and
Yes.
he knew he was gonna do it right.
Yes.
And yeah, it was very intimate, very personal. And my just a last quick thing. My cousin Alan, uh, his father, my dad's brother, Reggie has it. Um, before my uncle Reggie passed, uh, Alan told me this at the church. He said, "Yeah, I went to my dad, and your dad was nearby." I said, "Look, Dad, I want you to come to the house more. I want you to come see the family more. Like once a week, I want you to come over for dinner. If I have to, I'll come and get you." My father, without missing a beat, says, "I'll bring him." Like I start laughing. My cousin Al was like, "Yeah, man, he for a good year. He for they go to a good meal out of me
Mhm.
once a week. Him and my dad." He goes, "I either cook for them or in the family, or I would take them out." He said, but
That's
he
funny.
goes, it was the best idea. But your dad did listen to me. I'll bring him.
I gotta say, although it was a complete outlier, your aunt, like man, she just lit the whole, changed the whole mood at the
Oh Lord.
and she was like, "Is that your man?" She was so loud, and I'm standing next to Scott and his son, and we're looking
I
at each
saw
other,
them turning and
and we
laughing.
were sitting there looking at each other, and I'm like, I'm trying to keep a straight face because she just kept calling her and calling her and calling. Can you can't hear me? What's the matter? You can't hear me? Who's that guy next to you? Is that your man, girl? I was like, yo, she does not care where she, like, does she not see? And she was like, it's cold in here. Where's the furnace at? Yo, I was like,
Can I be real with you? It's only about that much dementia.
oh
That
wow,
it's like that much is dementia.
that's just her.
That's just the family. That's her sisters.
Yeah.
That's how they are.
Oh,
Maybe if she was younger, it wouldn't be as loud. But I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened.
bro, cousin, it was so funny.
That's them, man. And it's
And at first, I was just like, "Ooh, this is so uncomfortable." And then she just kept like when she first did it, and then I was like, she just kept going
yeah.
and got louder
I
and louder
heard
and louder
something
and
and I
louder
was
and
like, okay, that'll stop.
yeah, nah,
Nope, got louder.
nah.
More. The air, it's freezing.
Somebody like gave her their shawl or blood throw or whatever it was to cover it up so that she was warm. And so once she moved on from being cold, then she went after
Well,
Shorty and
that's
the man.
right. the cold was taken care of, so we're not gonna just be quiet. No,
But
now
I
what?
need to know who that dude is.
Now what?
Like, yo,
Yeah,
I was a but
that's his system.
my wife has said when she's like, if I'm alive when you pass, it was like it is by invitation only. So he's like, I don't want any of your ex bitches showing up. It was like I'm gonna know everybody there because if
Uh-huh.
I see some bitch I don't know, I'm gonna be asking questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Invitation only. He was like,
Invitation only.
and none of these damn people from the town are gonna come. I'm like, yo, you can't not let people
Yeah,
come pay
yeah.
respect. She was like, yes, I can. He was like, it ain't about you, it's about me. He was like, yo, I was like, I'm gonna put it in my will then. And she was like, I don't care what you put. I was like, all right, yo. I was like, all right, move on.
Yeah. But rest in power, and this will be the last thing I said. I've said this a couple times, and I'm gonna say it this time. I'm not gonna say it again. But I have one jealousy about my dad being on, and that is he gets to re-hug my wife before I do.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah, that's it. He gets to re-hug my wife
yeah,
before I do.
yeah.
Yeah. But getting to be more family there, man, than here.
That's the tough part of getting older, man.
Yeah, man.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
I mean, it sucks when it happens when you're young, but
yeah.
like the difficult part of getting older is that oh, the messed up part, and I chuckle, but it's like a lot of the people that I would have to deal with getting like as I got older are already gone.
Yeah.
So it's like I've actually had big gaps of time where like nobody
Mm-hmm.
because I lost so many so early.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't have to worry about that one.
I was a pallbearer, I think, about 8 or 9 times before I was even 16.
Mm. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Were you a pallbearer for my mother?
Uh huh.
Because
Of course. Of
I don't
course.
remember
Of
shit.
course. Alexis Allison.
I mean, I remember
Teresa.
a lot, but I don't
Mm,
remember like who was a pallbearer.
of course not. Yeah. Yeah. You're young. But yeah. And I've
Yeah, damn, that's hard.
yeah, man. And then
Like
like
my thing is always like you can't ask people that are too close because it's like, well, they're gonna get emotional. Like you're asking them to carry a huge weight. Like that is a huge weight to ask somebody who was really close.
that's
Like
why I kept saying to you the other
right,
day, like, thank you, man. You know, that you like, oh, you don't keep thanking.
yeah,
I'm like, no, I
yeah,
do because it's you all have hold of my dad, and
oh, yeah,
yeah, that's everything.
yeah.
That's everything. Even in those brief moments,
Like
you trust me.
when one of my uncles passed, like a lot of his brothers were, and I was just like like looking back, I'm like, damn, that has to be hard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like that is a
Hmm.
like you're grieving and you have to be strong enough
Yeah.
because that thing it's not light. Like yeah, you don't have to carry it a long way,
Hmm.
but the little bit you are
Yeah,
carrying it,
yeah.
it's not
It's
light.
not light. No, that's why
It's
you
like,
asked to
oh
be there.
yeah,
Yep.
like but
Rest in power,
rest
Richard
in power,
Stanhazard.
Richard.
Yes, yes. Love you, always will.
So what you got going on for the
Uh,
holidays going forward?
um, as I was telling somebody not too long, ago, I said right now it's just day by day.
Mm,
I'm not trying to be cute. I'm not trying to be, just
mm-hmm,
dismissive. Literally day by day, and trying to just put together a little plan.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah,
one,
because it's like you moved here for a certain, and so now it's not what.
yeah, yeah, and even I said it out loud like the other day. It was weird. I was like, yeah, that was my reason for being here.
Right,
Now my reasons transition.
right.
Why
It's
am
like,
I
do you
here?
dig in
Do I
and like,
exactly? Do I now make a place here when I'm seeing things that worse than when I left?
yeah,
But we have this. I do have my interpersonal relationships with people that mean
right?
everything to me. So it's challenging, man. So literally, I'm like day by day right
Because at the same time, although you haven't been here, the people you're closest to are here,
now. Yes,
and
and
so
and
it's
and,
like,
and I would be lying if I didn't say it doesn't. It feels good to be with
yeah, I'm sure.
you. Yeah, I said you. I'll call you and my cousin Scotty out.
Yeah,
You guys are my right now my Mount Rushmore of being here. So
yeah. So,
yeah,
well, if you need a
and
place
you
to go for the holidays, feel free to stop by.
appreciate
We don't do on Christmas Day, and I have to say, like, we weren't even together when we established this. We were still kind of working it out. We established it when Brianna was a baby. We don't leave my house on Christmas Day. And it was like, because we both had childhoods where we had to go a lot of places, and it's like never liked it. The toy you wanted to play with as a kid was always home. You would get to open it and you would get to
I
play
like
for it
that.
for a minute,
I like
and then like you didn't get to play with it again until like the next day or
Until-
2 days later
yeah,
because you had to go everywhere.
yeah.
And so it's like, listen, you want us to visit? That's fine. We'll visit the day before. We'll visit every
Day
day after,
Yeah.
but we are not going to visit on
That's
Christmas Day.
beautiful. That's
And
beautiful.
so if you like, it's like, look, you want to see us? That's fine. You are welcome to stop by. Like I don't do a whole thing. Like I cook, and we kind of have food out, and we'll have finger foods and whatever. And
People can
they
eat
like
when they want.
whatever.
It's low
I'll do
key.
like a roast or something and have food out and
Yeah.
kind of come and graze all day.
Yeah.
But like
Y'all
that's
ain't
it. Like if we get dressed, you're lucky. Like you'll get us in pajamas all day or
Yeah.
whatever. But it's like let the kids enjoy where they
That's
are.
beautiful, man.
If you want our kid to open it on Christmas Day, you can either bring it by or you can drop it off ahead of time. Like we'll get it, whatever it is. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's like I want my kids to be able to enjoy their space
Yes.
for Christmas Day.
That's great.
And so
I like it.
that's what we do. New Year's Eve, everybody will fall asleep on the couch but me, and then I'll wake everybody up around 11:50.
Hey.
Be like, all right,
It's coming.
cheers, good night.
Go back to sleep.
That's how it is. But
I
otherwise,
love it.
we're going to Polar Express tonight. There's a train. Um, what's it?
Is that
East
one
of
Saga?
here. There is one there, but we're going to one. I think it's in Carver.
Okay.
And like they get on a train and it goes and there's all these little lights and they do the whole like hot chocolate,
Really?
hot
Okay.
chocolate. So yeah, you do all that. So we're gonna do that. No, my wife is real big on Christmas and my daughter's real big on Christmas. So we would ride around and look at Christmas lights. And yeah, we do some of that. But otherwise, man, it's just chill.
Yeah.
I'm old,
Chilling is a good thing.
old and boring.
Nah, man.
Old and
wines.
old and boring, man.
Let's make this full circle.
Old and
Back to the refrigerator.
for real. That is what I'm gonna do. Thanks for reminding me. I'm gonna play with my
Why we
fridge.
call him fridge?
I'm gonna have me a drink. Like literally, the first thing I was like, "Yo, did you ask the dude how long it's gonna take for the ice spheres to be made?" Like, now that it's plugged in, how long does that take? I'm ready. I'm ready for my ice. All right.
Thank y'all.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Again, Merry Christmas.
Merry
Happy
Christmas,
New
happy
Year. This is definitely going to be the last one in 2024. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year,
Love
Happy
y'all.
Kwanzaa, Umoja, Happy Hanukkah, everything. Love you. If nobody has told you today, love you.